biggest issues plaguing modern men is that the vast majority of them lack a tribe of other virtuous, trustworthy, masculine men who gather for the sole purpose of improving themselves and their lives on a daily basis. Most men simply float through space, working a dead-end job, only to go home to a nagging wife or girlfriend that doesn't respect them. Their friend circles are nothing but fat, low testosterone losers who are more concerned with what sports teams are playing this weekend and what bar they're going to watch the game at. If these men are lucky enough to unplug from the comforting lies that modern society sells them and decide they want more out of life, they look around and realize they need to get into a better room. That's where a private community of men chasing excellence comes in. Men in our community have all committed to being the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. They willingly run toward challenges, knowing that pushing themselves out of their comfort zones is the key to unlocking their true potential as men. If you're ready to take control of your life back and curate a network of successful and knowledgeable men, now is the time to seize the opportunity.
All right, ladies, you're free to come off mute and come back on camera. Thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody, welcome back to Ladies Night, the only show that threatens to give me a brain aneurysm every single week, week in and week out. Hopefully that doesn't happen this week, but who knows what we're going to get. Ladies, let's do a quick round of intros. This is the first time we ran the intro reel on that. I would love to get some of the ladies just quick thoughts on that. But what we'll do is we'll do the basics. We'll do your name, your age, where you're from, what you do, your relationship status, and then your just visceral reaction to that clip, because I'm always just interested to see what women think. Let's start with Juliet.
My name is Juliet. I am 24 years old. I'm from Northern California. I am a model and a stay-at-home wife. I am married. And I think the intro was cool. I mean, I think men definitely need to reconnect and get a little bit more masculine. Some men anymore. I would agree with that.
So you're cool with it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We have Juliet's stamp of approval. Meg, on to you.
Hi, my name is Megan. I am 32 years old. I'm a paralegal at a law firm that does pretty much everything except criminal defense. I am currently living in Florida. The ad, I like the ad. I think that it's really important that people in general, like women too, honestly, get back to our bodies, get off the social media, figure out what it is we really like and what we don't like. But nagging wife, didn't like that. I didn't like that.
You didn't like that. What didn't you like about that?
I think that spinning a negative connotation on marriage right away and saying that you need to leave your marriage and to feel better and be with other dudes is kind of, I don't know. I don't think that's healthy personally. I understand where the ad is going, but I just don't think that's healthy. And
all right.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that.
I mean, I don't think the ad even says you have to leave your marriage. It just says, unfortunately, a lot of guys get stuck in a relationship that they don't like. Not saying that you need to leave your relationship in order to be happy, but some guys, if they don't set up their life right, get stuck in a bad relationship.
Right. But calling your wife a nagging wife, I think, insinuates that you're like, I just need a break from my nagging wife. Like, our relationship isn't. You wouldn't refer to your significant other as nagging if it was good.
Yeah, she was a nag. I call her a nag. Let's come back to that. I want to make sure I circle that because you seem like you're a proponent for marriage, which is very interesting, and we can definitely talk about that. Indy, on to you, please.
Hey, I'm Indy. I live in LA, but I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a full-time model and photographer, editor, stylist, just kind of everything in the fashion world. But I also am a certified yoga instructor, and I also practice Reiki, which is a Japanese form of energy work that helps like people be more aligned with their energy and help heal and things like that.
You said you were married? I don't know
yes,
if I caught
and
that
I'm
already.
married.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
sorry. So a lot of stuff.
Oh, I know, it's a lot.
The intro.
And then what's your reaction to our ad there?
So I really do like the general idea of it. Like I do mention to my girlfriends a lot that I feel like a big issue most men have is lacking a masculine figure to help mentor them and help them navigate becoming a man, like really stepping into their masculinity. Like I feel like a lot of men, no matter how old they get, they never really matured into someone who is like deserving of that respect, so they wouldn't have like a naggy wife, if that makes sense. Like I feel like you would only have a naggy wife because you're not really pulling your weight in the relationship. Like you're not contributing enough to like the household. Like I feel like typically in so many like women friendlies like subreddits on Reddit, most women have like a huge mental load put on them in the relationship. They're usually organizing the household and maybe doing more chores and cooking and things like that. But yeah, I love the idea of men connecting with each other and working towards improving themselves and having people keep them accountable. I think that's really important.
All right, so -2 points for the nagging wife. I want to come back to that. I definitely want to talk about why you put that in there. Carolina, on to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carolina Monroy Rosso. I'm 28. I'm currently, I'm the founder and designer of a brand called Croco Rosso, or in short, Rosso. We do exotic skin luxury goods. We just came back from New York Fashion Week, and we're planning Paris Fashion Week coming up. So that's very exciting, but I'm also in law school. So I'm doing a bit of both. Other than that, I am from Bolivia and the Czech Republic. I also have a nonprofit in Bolivia with which we've helped a lot of people during COVID. We've done humanitarian aid, etc. So I do quite a few different things. Now, regarding the ad, I thought it was excellent in the sense that I personally believe in, self betterment. So I believe it was great. I think it's great. It targets men, but I think it should also target women. I'm a person who believes that we should be on a quest to better the self at all times, a quest for excellence, a quest to just do the maximum extent of what we can do as people, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I think the ad was great. I do agree with Megan and Indy regarding the nagging wife. Maybe it would be, if you want to target men and women to help them kind of like see this potential thriving ad and quest and such, maybe I don't know, it could be like changed in a different manner, but yes, I did like it. I do approve. And as to the last question, I think you asked whether we're in a relationship or not.
Yes.
I recently finished a relationship, and I think it's because I didn't see that he was on that quest that the ad actually talks about. So for me, it's important for a man to truly strive for excellence. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what my ambition drives me to do.
Gotcha. All right. Unique, take us home.
Hi, everyone. My name's Unique. I'm 34 years old, and I'm from Westchester, New York. And I'm a senior finance associate. The ad, I personally really liked it. And I think it's important for men to be around other men that are going to push them. To, like Carolina said, to be their best selves. And I think it's healthy. Community is really important.
Okay. And you mentioned that you're single, but you're dating.
Yes, single but dating.
And I think, Meg, you said the same thing. I don't know if we caught that from you, but same thing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for the intros. That's awesome. That's the first time we've shown that ad to a panel, so it's very interesting to get the feedback. But I find it very interesting. Like, we don't want to target women. We don't want women to be any part of this. Like, I don't know. Part of the problem that I see in the modern world is that men's spaces don't really exist anymore. Video games, women are involved. Social clubs, gyms, golf clubs, like all of these spaces that were unique and secluded, or not secluded, but sequestered off for men to have their own spaces have now been invaded. It's funny because that's not the first time I've heard that. It's like, oh, well, you should do one for women too. But it's like, I don't know 30 women. I don't know if I could ever get a group of 30 women to go into the wilderness of Algonquin Park, north of Toronto, with no cell phone service. The only way out of there is a helicopter, and paddling and carrying, 30, 40, 50-pound sacks on their backs. Like, I think it'd be impossible to find that. I don't generally, I think the women that are interested in that kind of thing are extremely rare.
I would like to say that it's not that rare because there's only 5 women here, but I have done sort of similar stuff. Like, I've gone backpacking where it's a several-day trip and you are carrying everything you would need on your back. And I've done canoeing, kayaking. So they do exist. There are women who like to get outdoors and disconnect a bit so they can reconnect with themselves and enjoy
But that's a little
nature.
different. That's a little different than what we're going for. Like, we are,
Sure.
This is not just about going out and putting your phone away. This is about doing extremely physically difficult and mentally difficult work. And part of that, like, I'm surprised, like, the nagging wife thing struck such a chord. I wonder why is so, like, Meg, to go back to you, like, we're throwing a dagger at marriage, or you said something along the lines of, like, we're shitting on marriage or something like that right off the bat. Like, what did you mean by that?
I was actually taking notes so I didn't lose my thought, because I will. Sorry. It just gives the connotation. I had to sort it out in my brain. It just gives the connotation that my biggest fear in a marriage is that, and I've seen it because I've worked with men and male-dominated fields like the Navy and the legal office and volunteer firefighting. And my biggest thing is that when men talk about their wives in a real shitty way, or like they make really degrading jokes about them, and it breaks my heart because they're not around to hear it. And I'm in a boys club, unfortunately, at Sausage Fest or something, and I hear these things, and that's just, it's just a sore spot for me personally. Maybe it's just my own problem. If someone's like, oh, she's triggered, like, I don't care. That is a sore spot for me. I don't like to hear it. Like, you should love your wife. You should honor your wife. Women should do that for their husbands too. I just don't believe in that. I don't think that's great behavior. And then when I heard nagging wife, I was like, time out. Nope. Not gonna be no. So that's just where I was coming from.
Indy, go ahead. So you're raising your hand. You're on mute, by the way.
I feel like it just creeps into, like, the toxic masculinity a little bit, bringing that up, like the Andrew Tate sort of vibe, where you have to, like, really put women down and act like we're not worthy of respect, or I just feel like it just creeps into that area a little bit. And I don't think you guys want to create guys who are, I don't know, just that's the
problem though. Like, I want to come back to toxic masculinity because I want to get everybody's definition. I want to figure out what everybody means by that. But we are speaking to the men this is their reality. See, we're not creating and putting these ideas in men's heads saying, like, hey man, like, it's like, if this resonates with you, if you have, like, most men, this is what I think most women don't understand about the actual modern plight of the modern man. Most men are fat and out of shape. Most men don't have any meaningful hobbies. Most men don't have a tribe of other men where they can be improving and they can have them around to be pushing themselves and get to their new heights and new levels. And most men are in relationships with women that they probably wouldn't choose, and they're only with them because that's the only person that looked at them the right way at the right time. We're just talking about the reality of the dozens to hundreds, the hundreds to the thousands of men that we've worked with across the years. And the guys that are in our communities, is we've heard these stories before, like, wife lost respect for me, wife did this, wife embarrassed me in front of my friends, she doesn't let me do this, doesn't let me do that. Not that that should ever be a part of a man's vocabulary. Your wife shouldn't let you do anything. You're the man, you run the relationship. But Yeah, I'm surprised that there's such a visceral reaction just to that, because I think the stereotypes exist for a reason, right? Because there's some truth to it. There's always some truth in jest, like the monster-in-law stepmother, or like the mother-in-law monster-in-law. That's a real thing because it manifests itself in reality. The nagging wife is a trope that exists because it manifests itself in reality. So, I mean, part of what we're doing is we're saying, hey, man, does your wife nag at you and she's always bitching at you because the trash isn't taken out, or your white socks, you put them in the dark clothes hamper, or you didn't sweep the garage the right way? Guess what? If you want to get your balls back and you want to be the man in your relationship again, then what you probably need to do is come out with us and do some hard physical and mental work, figure out where you've been messing up in the relationship or marriage, and right the ship. The problem is, for a lot of guys, no matter what level of self-improvement they do, like, a lot of times it isn't enough to save the relationship. So a lot of guys need that escape. A lot of guys need to get out from that nagging wife, so to speak. I wish that wasn't the case, and I wish that more women appreciated what men had to do and the sacrifices that men had to make. But I don't think a lot of them do. I mean, Andy, you were talking about like the mental load that wives have when it comes to like cooking and cleaning. I mean, it's peasant work, right? I mean, that's been going on since the Stone Ages. It's laundry and cooking and cleaning. Like, that is not exactly working in a coal mine.
Sure, but if it falls totally onto one person and my bills aren't being paid by you, why am I also
but that's
covering
different,
stuff?
right?
I know, I'm just saying, but why am I
Yeah.
covering things 50-50, but I'm also running the house, I'm getting all the groceries, I'm doing A,
Well,
B, and C,
That's
but
a
you
fair
only
argument,
have
but that's a different argument.
your
Yeah.
Like,
sure,
that's a
but
different
that's a
argument.
reality for a lot of women.
Yeah.
Modern women are
would agree
expected to
with that.
contribute now. There aren't as many guys that are
No,
willing to be providers.
not necessarily. I think that's put on by other women. I think that is a feminist sort of, I don't want to say psyop, but I think that's feminism at play, where it's like, you have to go be the boss babe, you have to go to work, and you have to contribute to the home. Like, I think the average man, I'll get to you in a second, Julie, I promise. The average man would love a woman that stays home. The average man would love a woman that doesn't come home pissed off because she's been in male-dominated workplace all day with, rubbing elbows and shoulders with these domineering, high masculine men, because it's not good for the psyche. Women deal with, conflict and trauma much different than men do. So this idea that women they have to go to work and they have to make all this money, that's sold by other women. That's sold by feminism. That's not sold by men. I don't agree with that. Juliet, did you have something?
I think most guys
Let's go to Juliet
want
first.
to be.
Get Spencer. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, most guys want to be that provider and then have you at the home to support him. But if he's not providing, if he's not doing that role, he's not providing for you, he's expecting it to be 50-50, you're paying half the bills, I wouldn't suggest that you be doing all the cooking, cleaning, all that stuff as well. I wouldn't suggest that. If he's not doing his role, then it's just added weight on you. So I totally understand that point of view. But I think that's a fault in the guy not doing his job.
Juliet, you had something?
I was just going to say, as far as that aspect goes, if a man is expecting you to go to work, he's not a man. Like, I couldn't imagine, my husband's a welder, and when he comes home from work, he's tired, he wants food, he wants things to be done. But if, say, for some reason I don't feel good that day, like it's my time of the month, that seems to be pretty rough for me, he'll help me with things here and there. But I'm never going to expect him to do everything when I sit at home all day and I have time to be doing the things that he can't do during a 12-hour day at work. And then your husband, when he comes home, isn't going to want to hear you bitching and moaning at him for something that, whatever may have happened or whatever. Like, if you're just talking to him, that's one thing. But if you're just going to complain at him, there's such a bad mental health crisis among everyone, but men don't talk about it because it's frowned upon for men to talk about their mental health. They need things like other masculine men to build them up, to make them back to what men used to be. Because the men that are today, well, I mean, there's very few that are real men anymore today. And that's what they need to get back to, is being the man of the house. They need to be the leader. and they don't need someone complaining at them 24/7. And now if you're complaining versus communicating, that's two very different things. But that's just my opinion anyway.
Do you think it's more so that women have changed other than men have changed? Do you think, because I personally think men are the same. I think men are kind of the same. They've always been. I think it's women who have changed. Like here was the deal. You work hard, you go to work, you protect your wife, you take care of her, you support the household, you bring home the money. Guess what? She supports you. She keeps cold to the house. She takes care of the kids. Ideally, in the perfect world scenario, she's a virgin, but I mean, that's not a thing here or there. But she's supportive. She's pleasant. She's nice to be around. She doesn't compete with you. She doesn't nag. She takes care of it. She's the piece of the house or whatever the hell that means. But women aren't doing that anymore, right? Women want to go to work. They want to get their degrees. They want to climb the corporate ladder, right? So I mean, Carolina, like you're very successful. You're doing a whole lot of stuff. Like you dumped a guy because he's not ambitious enough. Like, I mean, was he a bum or was he just like a little bit less successful than you are? Like, what was your?
No, I mean, great guy, and I think well, many things I want to talk about. First of all, I think you're saying men have not changed. It's women who have changed. I believe that it's not feminism that's pushing women to, climb the corporate ladder and try to be out there in the corporate world, for instance. I think it's the fact that now we have the opportunity to demonstrate that we can also use our brain. We can also be in these work settings and in the workforce and contribute to the economy, contribute to whatever it is that we're contributing to. So I think this.
But women are a net negative on the economy. Women have a net negative when it comes to women are a net negative when it comes to taxes. They consume far more than they contribute, like by a very wide margin. I mean, they're not. They're actually a lull on the economy. They have most of the consumer debt. They account for 70+% of all consumer spending. They don't pay down their student loans. Men are paying down student loans at record rates, and women don't pay them down. I mean, we have subsidies and we have all of these programs that are affording to women and getting them into boardrooms, but nobody is telling women to get on the back of garbage trucks or in coal mines.
I disagree with, for instance, like some like DEI or whatever policies and things that are being pushed for women to have, as you're saying, for instance, like board positions when it's not based on meritocracy. I think it should always be based on meritocracy. If a man's better than a woman at a job, he should have it. That's just, the way it should be. However,
Can you name me one job or one role where the best woman is better than the best man?
Well, there are many like women CEOs, for instance, that have done extremely well in various different companies around the world. I think like there are so many instances, like even, for instance, like Angela Merkel, like leading in her leadership role, leading an entire country, etc. Like, I think there are so many strong women that can do things extremely well and sometimes even better than men, depending on the role, because sometimes they have more emotional intelligence.
Give me an example.
For instance, Angela Merkel.
Yeah, but she's not better at running the country than the United States president. I mean, I don't think there's a CEO that's better at running a company than Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Otherwise, they'd be the richest person in the world. I mean, all the top richest women in the world didn't get there by business. They got there through inheritance or divorce.
Sure. And I think, I think men have had more opportunities for a longer time. So they've been building that for a longer time as well. I think also with women, we do end up having families, children. So we do like leave the workforce sometimes for some time and then come back. So it's just a different reality. But I don't think it's fair to say that like women are innately less prepared or less good at whatever job it is. Yes, I believe that like, for instance, physical jobs that require physical force and things like that, men will be innately better. But I think something that just requires pure brain power, you cannot differentiate on
of course you can level. I mean, you can look at the IQ curve. I mean, women make up the more median percentile of the IQ curve. Like the dumbest people in the world and the smartest guys and smartest people in the world are all men. Like the smartest high IQ people in the world are men.
Okay, you're talking about like averages though. I think independently
I'm talking about
women.
I'm talking about if you're talking about who's more prepared to do a job, if you want to talk about somebody who's more mentally prepared or smarter or logical, that's always going to be a man. It's always going to be somebody who's at the top of the IQ curve. Because if we talk about, go ahead.
Okay,
yeah, please.
Just look at different like rankings of, let's say, universities, even, there are sometimes women who are first, second, third, etc., above men. So that just proves, like
In what
women can
aspect?
be
Like graduation?
just anything. No. For instance, just doing better in classes, doing like IQ as well, different things and metrics that show
Yeah,
that
but
women
good
can be
grades is not
better.
having good grades is not an indicator of intelligence. That just means that you can follow
Well,
directions and you can do your assignments. This
I,
whole
but
school, like
also
public school, I
IQ
can't remember who
things.
was talking about this. I think it was maybe Indy. Like the entire public institution of education, publicly,
Mhm.
especially college, high school, all the way to elementary school, is designed for women. It's designed to be, I'll get to you a second back, I promise. It's designed specifically for women. Raise your hand when you want to talk. Ask when you're allowed to go to the bathroom. Sit still. Don't fidget. Don't interrupt. Like boys and young men are creatures of chaos. It's all about creating robots and it's creating order. And therefore, the entire system is designed for women to succeed over men. So, like, yeah, if you're going to put a woman in an environment that is catered to her and her natural proclivities, of course she's going to do better. Of course, women are going to be graduating at higher rates. It's not
But
because
if
they're
you think
smarter
of
than men. It's because the environment they're placed in is conducive to them and not men.
Possibly, but if you think of the workforce, let's say in a corporate job, you're also in a structured environment. So it's similar
But it's
in that
different.
sense.
It's different,
It's
completely
similar
different.
but
Because in
different.
a corporate environment, you
Depends.
don't get a no. Because in a corporate environment, you don't get by passing tests and turning in assignments. You do it through
No, it's
dominance. You do it through being aggressive. You do it through being a good
and there are
negotiator. It's
women who
very
can do those things.
domineering. But I'm
I
saying there's
agree. I mean,
not a
there are
woman that the
maybe in
best
averages
woman
are less,
CEO on the
but
planet doesn't do a good enough job as the best CEO on the planet that's a man.
I think that's debatable, and I think women can prove dominance and assertiveness and whatnot as
How?
well. How? By being leaders in their own field, and I think it's we have proof of this. And yes, fine, the richest people on earth are men at the moment, and as you said, like the women who are wealthy, like to those extents, have achieved it, maybe not through their own merit, but I think we have different circumstances as well that have to be taken into account. I did want to say something that you pointed out earlier. You said you don't believe it's men who have changed, that you think it's women, but I do think men have changed as well. If we look overall, like overarchingly at men in today's society, I think many men are no longer willing to make that like real effort or even like physical effort or to put themselves in situations that are uncomfortable. So I think this is a problem in society today. And I think men are losing also part of that masculinity because they're not willing to put themselves in those like tough positions due to the comfort that we've achieved in our lives in this modern society. So I think all of that is also adding into this discrepancy or like the reduction of men being the men they should be in some sorts.
Okay. I want to get to Megan first. I'm going to get to Indy. Megan, go ahead. You've been patiently waiting.
I kind of forget. Hold on. Okay, so sorry.
Gotta go back on those notes you were writing.
Yeah,
I
Jeff,
know. I need to get another piece of paper. I legitimately have like ADHD. So, anyways, I worked in male-dominated fields, and being in the military for 9 years and on a ship with men, and to include Marines and sailors alike, and having to work my way up the ranks. And I think that society really glorifies it when you like get there and everything. And, it does pay off in the end when you make the rank and you have some kind of authority as a woman and everything else. But it is so exhausting because on your way up, you have to be better. I tried to secure everything by just outworking everybody, men, women, the people above me, the people below me. I had to work so hard that it was undeniable that I earned EP evals and everything else. So let's just write that down. And when I got out, I was a paralegal and I was a contractor in DC. And I worked with a lot of men, and these are a lot of men in prestigious positions. And I was, working around the Pentagon and stuff like that. And I could tell you that I'm tired. Like, I am so tired of always being aggressive. I'm so tired of always having to figuratively like pull my wiener out and show people that I can do something because I'm a woman, when really I'm still thinking about cleaning my house, taking care of my dog, like doing everything else. I want to wear the makeup, I want to be pretty, but oh, you can't, you know, I don't know, you can't be too pretty because now you only got this because you're pretty or whatever it is. And it just sucks. And it gets really hard then to date, that's a whole other topic, but it gets really hard to date, and it gets really hard to just do pretty much everything and just be a woman in the world and come back to being an actual woman and put your wiener away. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like,
yeah, I mean, my question is like, why even bother then? Like, why do it? That's the crux of what I'm getting to.
Well,
if you have to work 10 times as hard to get the recognition, which again, it's your personal experience, but I also have a lot of friends that are veterans in the military. I've heard a lot of stories about women in the military and the ones that are there and how they got there, especially the way that times are changing now. But if that's the case, and you said something really interesting, and I want to go around the panel, I want to get to Indy, and obviously I want to get to Unique because I haven't heard from you yet. I just want to get your thoughts on kind of what's being said here. But like, why fight this ridiculously difficult uphill battle? It's like, why even bother? Why not lean into the things that you are naturally good at and that you are naturally inclined to, in that your essence and your biology has designed you for? And this idea that like, oh, well, you got to be pretty, but not too pretty, and you got to be tough and not too tough. Like, again, these are limitations that men are not putting on women. Women are listening to the wrong people. They're listening to other women. They're listening to these people that are saying women are far more competitive with each other. And I think women are far more women haters than men are, by far. But nobody seems to want to call this fact out. So like, that's my question. So it's like, why do it? Like, why go into these kind of fields? Like, why maintain sort of this above the shoulders, like acidic, this stuff that clearly for you is exhausting? Why continue to do it?
I did not have surprise. I'm covered in tattoos, and I went into the military for 9 years. Don't have a dad. Shocker. So he like left when I was a baby and everything. And my mom was a teen mom, single teen mom. I didn't know what it was like to have like a male figure that was like good, you know, in my life. I dealt with some really kind of bad stuff, and the military was an escape for me. And I didn't even, I have an associate's degree, and I'm like 3/4 of the way through a bachelor's. And I didn't even think that was possible for me growing up. Like, that wasn't even a possibility. And the only way that would ever be attainable is if I joined the military. So I just had to escape my hometown.
Do you think not having a male role model growing up is what made you step into a male role?
Yeah, because I had to. I had no choice. Like, I literally had no choice. It was either stay in my small town and work 2 jobs to try and maybe one day afford a car, maybe, or get out. And it was terrifying, and I did it. But I mean, I think that if I was well taken care of or something like a little bit better, I would be not struggling with being stepping out of that masculinity, which I'm coming back to now, but like stepping out of that now. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like, we are creatures of habit as humans. We want to do the same thing over and over and over again. Influence is a book that I just read, and there's a whole chapter on commitment and consistency. There's 2 chapters on it, actually. And it's all about you. The more that you do the same thing over and over again, the more you get stuck in that habit. Like, you get stuck in that same mindset, stuck in that same character, that same role. And if you're going and pursuing a masculine job, a masculine career, you're going to come home and feel just as masculine. It's going to be very, very difficult to switch that off and go to the other extreme and be feminine.
Yeah.
Andy, you had something. You've been waiting patiently.
Yeah, so I just wanted to for sure say that I totally disagree that the best man is better than everything compared to like the best woman. I just don't think that is true.
Can you give me a counterexample?
Sure, women were badasses. Like, women helped create like the first computers. Like Marie Curie, she discovered radioactivity in the X-ray, and without that, we wouldn't know about like the structure of DNA and genetics. So it's just so much came from certain discoveries by women, and us being able to do this, being able to communicate with each other on our computers, that wouldn't necessarily have happened without women. And I
mean, who invented the
very
telephone?
good in
Who invented the light bulb? Who discovered gravity? Who invented computers? Like, who invented the printing
but women
press? I mean, we
also
can be
weren't
reductionist
allowed
about this all day.
to.
Right, but how
But women weren't
convenient,
even
right? How
allowed to.
convenient is that?
How is that?
How convenient,
I feel like that's
right?
not
How
really fair
convenient
to
is
say,
it?
because women were forced to be at the home
But they're
until
not
recently. Like
anymore.
we couldn't.
How about they're
Yes,
not
I know not
anymore?
anymore.
Right.
I
So
understand
where are
not
these? Where
anymore.
is this amazing woman CEO that is running the world, who is making amazing advanced discoveries in places like aeronautics and space? Where are all those discoveries? Like, where are
I'm
those?
sure they
I mean,
are. I feel
women
like
have
you
been
just
able to.
don't
Women
hear
have been able
about
to
it.
vote for 100 years. You don't think if there was a woman running a company that was taking us to space that we'd be hearing about it?
But I also
Is that how
feel
deep
like,
the patriarchy goes? Like, we're just keeping women down in these boxes,
but
and
there are
everything's the
women
Handmaid's
astronauts,
Tale?
and there are women who work in NASA in
How many
very
women
high
have
up
been on the
positions.
moon?
It's not just men.
How many women have been on the
I
moon?
I don't have a
Zero.
count of that just
Zero.
off
It's
the top
okay.
of my head.
It's
But a lot
zero.
of women were very important, like in the ground control, that helped with that.
But that's
They
not
helped
the
to
argument,
do
right? I'm
the
not saying
handwritten calculations in order for
but
us
that's
to be
not what
able to
I'm
get to the
saying.
moon.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not the argument. I'm saying, is there an example of a woman who's the best in the world at something that a man is not better than her at that particular thing? Does that person exist? And if so, who is she? I'd love to shake her hand.
I'm sure they do. I can't give you an example off the top of my head because I don't think you can really pinpoint who is the best at anything, because it's literally changing all the time. Like new world records are broken every time we do.
Now you have
Olympics or
men
something
breaking
like that.
female world records. Now you have men dressing up as women and breaking female records. Is that okay? Like, that's what's happening. Even women are getting their asses kicked by men in their own sports. So it's like, even in the women's division, they're not winning. I mean, if women were so great at athletics, like, they'd be kicking all these dudes' asses, but they're not. There's a reason we have specialization in sports. And there's a reason we have
I'm
specialization.
not trying to argue that men aren't
in
more
things like chess.
physically.
But we also have specialization in things like chess. Women and men have separate leagues in chess. Is that a physical game? No. Why is that?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not like that deep into chess to be able to argue with you about women in chess. But I did want to go back to your point about CEOs, because I do feel like what you define as success is just being the richest. But I also feel like those people who do become the richest are just people who are more comfortable being cutthroat and oppressing people. Like, for instance, Elon is firing everyone in the federal government. That I don't think is the best decision, and it's pretty cruel and
People get
messing
fired
up a
all the
lot of people's
time.
lives. But it's not the same. They've been
time.
fired illegally. It's not based on
What about his
how good
firings
they
are
are at their
illegal?
jobs.
What do you mean?
It is
what part of
illegal.
it's
You have to go
illegal?
through a process in order to fire some of these people. You can't just send an email and be like, you're fired.
No.
That's not how it works.
That's not how that happened.
There's literally a legal process in order to fire some of these federal workers that he's been firing.
Have you ever
look it up?
in the government?
Are you asking me if I've ever worked in the government? You think they can just fire any sort of person?
Have you ever worked for the federal government?
No, I haven't worked for the federal government. That doesn't mean I can't know about how the government works, though.
I did.
Oh, okay.
And when you're some of the federal employees, yes, if you're a GS, there is a process most of the time. But if it's coming from the commander-in-chief, the commander-in-chief is the one who employs all these federal employees, right? They work for him at the end of the day.
They're not all part of the executive branch who've been fired, though.
You don't have to. So like, there's delegates, there's appointees, there's people in charge that are appointed from someone in the government. So the Secretary of Defense, whatever, different directors and stuff have different capabilities for different jobs. And they do have weekly action reports sometimes. Sometimes you do have to report what you've done for the week, what you've done for the month. These reports do go out. So when you're collecting mass data for a huge organization and you say, give me just quick five bullet points. If you can't name 5 bullet points for what you did in that week, then
I'm not trying to argue that you're not supposed to have reports about your work. I'm just trying to say, my point being is that I think people who are very successful CEOs are just comfortable treating other people like numbers versus people that have lives.
And the government.
I mean, that's probably like there. A lot of that is probably true. The people who are the best in the world at something, usually it's not. They're not the best because
Assholes
they
run the
have
world.
something specific. Yeah, they're not the best because they have something. It's because they don't have something. They don't have an off switch. They don't have emotions holding them back from like being cutthroat. They're lacking all these things that usually hold people back, and because they don't have that, they can go all out and become the best.
And we live in a free market
I just
economy.
don't-
Like, you're free to work there, you're free not to work there. Just because somebody employs you for a job, it doesn't mean you're entitled to be employed. You can go work for McDonald's if you want. They don't have to employ you. Like, the government doesn't have to employ anybody. It's just like anybody running any sort of business. Like, this idea that everybody is entitled to be employed or everybody deserves to be able to have a job, like, I don't subscribe to that. I don't know why that's even an argument. Like, this has never been a thing that I'll let you finish, but we've never lived in a world where it's up until very recent. It's a very recent thing that we're being sold this lie that we not only can, but should be able to care about every single person around the entire world. People that we've never met, don't know their names, have no idea who they are. They don't put food on our table. They don't put money in our pocket. Just because we're supposed to care about every person in the world equally, it makes no sense. Love and care, that's by definition exclusionary. If you love everybody, you by definition love nobody. So I don't blame a guy like Elon saying, hey, listen, I have a family, I have kids, I have people that I want to take care of. I have my circle and my tribe and my people, and that's who I care about. And if you're not within that, and if you're not finding a way to add value to me so I can add value back to them, then you don't have a place here. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that whatsoever.
So I just feel like we probably have different ideas about what it is to be successful, because I would rather have like deep connections with people and show empathy and compassion towards others versus just being super rich.
But
yeah,
to
I'm
say
not
that he doesn't,
the best.
why are the two mutually exclusive?
I don't see
mean,
how
he's got
anything
children. Like,
Elon
you don't
doing
think
is
that he takes
showing
care
that
of
he
his
has
children?
empathy, and he's also using a child as a
Empathy
meat
for
shield so he
who?
doesn't get assassinated. He like
Empathy
constantly
for
has his
who?
child
Does
on his
every
shoulders
single
so he
does
doesn't
every
get
single
assassinated.
does every single person on earth deserve your empathy? Like, am I supposed to side, or am I supposed to feel bad for every single person on the planet, even though I don't care about them or know who they are, know their name, will never interact with them?
I think you should be empathetic and compassionate towards everyone. I think you should try
Why?
and limit the amount of suffering
how do
you cause
you,
towards other
if
people,
that's the
because we're
case,
ultimately
if
all
you should,
connected
then
to
how
one
do you?
another.
Well, no, we're not. We're not at all. That's absurd.
But
If you
are,
think
it's
that,
not
though,
absurd.
but if you think that, it's absurd. I'm not connected to some random person in Africa. Like, that's because we are on the same planet. That's the only thing we have in common.
That's just your current perspective, but my perspective is different. Like, something you do over here could affect Africa, even though it doesn't feel that way. It is possible. Like, for instance, people
let me
buy a
try
bunch of
different
clothes.
approach.
Okay.
Like cell phones?
I want to try a different approach. If you think everybody is deserving of some sort of empathy and we should care about everybody, then how do you go about determining who gets more empathy and who gets more of your time and effort? Because you simply can't, by definition, care about everybody the same, because you can't give the same. You can't talk to everybody on the planet. You can't get everybody on the planet your money. How do you go about it? How do you go about determining who gets your care and empathy and who doesn't, and what degree?
I wasn't saying I necessarily have to like go out of my way to show that I care so much for other people, but I feel like I should at least try and put myself in other people's shoes and try and be considerate of how my actions affect others. Even if they aren't my best friend, I still am going to do what I feel like will cause the least amount of suffering to others around me, even if they aren't.
You just said around you. That's what you said, around.
But what about the people?
Juliet,
what about what the people Elon fired has done to the American people in general, and who they didn't take into account of when they were doing their jobs to only benefit themselves and other countries.
I don't exactly know what you're referring to.
What I'm
Like the
referring
money
You have to
that
give a specific
goes.
example.
You're saying
Juliet,
who
go
he
ahead.
fired. So who he fired, have you thought about what their actions and what they did, how it affected, if you're going to say you care about everyone, how it affected the American people?
Okay, they fired a lot of people who I feel like are essential for things like forest rangers. Like I feel like we definitely need people working in our national parks and taking care of our forests
So
and
did
making
he
sure they
fire
aren't
every
overrun
single
by
person that works for the forestry department?
I think he fired everyone who was like a permanent worker, and I think they might be allowing seasonal people. I don't remember exactly, but
I've got to
If
put a
I
stop
may.
to this. I've got to bring us
okay.
back down to earth. I've got to bring us back down to earth. Caroline, please, the last thought on the Elon
Sure.
subject. 'cause
I
we're
was just
way
going to
off
say
topic.
that it's important to have empathy and whatnot, and I agree to a certain extent with Indy, but I do also agree with the fact that, Moff, you were talking about value, right? Adding value, maximizing value. I think that's extremely important. And if you're talking about a state or a sovereign, a country, and how it's being run, it's extremely important to have efficiency. And the way they're running things now, at least I think it's going towards maximizing this efficiency and adding value. So that was just the last thing I wanted to say.
It's not like the money that's being saved by firing these people who aren't really doing much is going into Elon's pocket. Like, it's not like that extra money isn't just making Elon richer. That money is going into the American economy and helping American people across the country.
But
All
the
right.
government also employs a bunch of people, so now you're taking money out of the pockets of people for them to be able to contribute and participate in the economy.
I'll
What
be
about all the
I'll
money
be
they
honest
send
though,
into
if that
other
guy's not doing
countries?
anything, it's someone who's like sitting at home not really doing anything. They're not doing any work. I don't care. I'll be honest, I don't care. I would rather that money be in my hands where I can decide where it should go, because I think I make a better decision than someone who's not doing anything to help society.
Sure, I understand. I just feel like there are government workers with important jobs who have been fired. I do understand that the government is corrupt, and yes, not all of the money is allocated and used efficiently. Like I know the Pentagon hasn't ever been able to do an audit and keep track of the money that gets sent to them. So I know there are issues with the government. I just am trying to say that there are people who do add value and make America a better place, and a place that I think we all love in some way.
I think this is a great example of when emotions are overriding abilities to be logical. Like where they're, I mean, again, I want to get off of this topic and get on to something else, but this is an amazing example of we've got documented millions and millions of dollars that have been wastefully spent on things that don't matter to Americans, that we didn't put into place, that we didn't vote for. And we're so like, because of our feelings, that's okay. It's very interesting to me. I want to move on from this because I talk about this shit all the time on our Monday show. Unique, you've been awful quiet. I would love to hear your thoughts, not on Elon Musk. Let's talk about what you talked about with us before the show. You talked about red flags. So I'm curious, as someone who's single, but you're also dating, picking up on red flags. And Meg, you talked about this too. So this is always a fun topic. But what are your red flags? Like, what's a red flag for you? Maybe your top 3, or just what's something that is like you see it and you're out the door. What does that look like for you?
So I'm the kind of person where I like honesty, whether it's bad, whatever it is I'd rather you just tell me the truth and not lie. So the minute I find out that, they've lied about something, it's like, I don't even want to bother. I don't want to go forward with that.
Give me an example.
Red flag. So like if someone lies about their age,
okay,
to me, that's not a good sign. That means they might be uncomfortable with their age or whatever it is. You're not being honest. You're not being forthcoming about how old you really are. You know what I mean?
Is that something you've experienced firsthand?
I have. Yes, I've experienced that. Unfortunately, yes. And
they said they were younger? They said they were older? What?
Younger.
Okay. By how much was the difference? What was the discrepancy?
Probably like like 6 years difference, but it's the principle. You know what I mean? Because like I'm 34. At the time, I think I was like maybe 29, 30. I just think if you lie about something like that, your age, you might lie about more things. There might be more to the story than just that. You know what I'm saying? That's just been my experience. And then I remember I dated someone for a while, and within like 2 months, something told me to just, do some digging, like look up his name.
Go through their phone.
No, I didn't go through. I don't believe in that. I don't go through anyone's phone because I'm, it's disrespectful.
Sure.
You just
Google. You Google them, right? And the age, it showed his age. I'm like, wow, like this whole time I thought he was 45. He's like 50 something.
Is that really that big of a deal? Like 5 years in age, 6 years, like is that a really big thing?
Because it's like if you're willing to lie about that, you'll probably lie about more things. Like
but
there's other things that you have.
I feel like in that case he was scared that you would get scared because he was too old, or you'd think he was too old for you.
And what's so funny? He asked me that. He's like, how do you feel about like dating older men? I'm like, I have. It's fine. I've always dated older men. No big deal, So when we had that conversation initially, I think I made it really easy for him to tell the truth. And then there were other things too that kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. But I would say lying.
How big was your real age gap?
Like from me and him?
From your, yeah.
Like 15, 20.
See, that's what makes me wonder, because so my husband's 8 years older than me, and I've always been with men older than me.
Yeah.
And there's always such a taboo with like a large age gap.
Right,
that he maybe could have felt like if he, that would be pushing you into like making you feel weird about him or any kind of way like that. But I get lying is a problem regardless, but that might have been what his deal
I understand.
was. And plus men don't. Once they start feeling old and then they realize they're old, they definitely don't like to be reminded that they're old.
Right.
Not that 50's old, but
it's not old. And like, I don't know. I just feel like, just how I am. I feel like I made it easy for him just to tell the truth, like lead with the truth, cause I didn't lie about anything. But to me, that is a red flag.
Do you think that women wearing makeup is their own version of lying?
I mean, in a way it is. I guess, and it depends. Like, I think it's important for if you're dating someone to see you like with makeup and without makeup, like, and how you feel, like are you comfortable with makeup, without makeup? Are you comfortable enough for your partner to see you without makeup? If this is a serious relationship, someone you really want to get to know better, I think they should see you both with or without makeup.
But so it's like, right, but like first date, are you showing up no makeup, right? So it's like, should a guy be up front right off the bat, or should he wait to see if you guys are going to be serious before he tells you the truth, right? Like if you're going to wear makeup on dates 1 through 5 and you're going to wait until you've dated for a couple months and then he's finally going to see you without makeup, maybe he feels duped. Maybe he didn't get what he thought he was getting. So, I mean, is the shoe on the other foot here?
I get what you're saying. I mean, I still think it's kind of different. I mean, me personally, like, I don't really, if I'm meeting someone for the first time, I don't put a bunch of makeup on because, I just don't think that's not how I look normally. That's not how I usually look. If I have a whole bunch of makeup on, I look very different from when I don't have a lot of makeup on. So
there's gray areas.
Yeah.
So are there gray areas when it comes to a guy's honesty?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm not trying to do a gotcha.
I personally feel like I lately, like, and I won't even say lately. I just try to be intentional. And the minute you lie about something, it's just me personally. I don't want to deal with you. That's it. I wish you all the best, but I personally don't want to deal with you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. Everybody has their deal breakers and their
everyone has their deal breakers, for sure.
I just wonder. Go ahead, Spence.
I think the age thing's a weird thing to lie about and try and keep that.
It is, right?
Like I might lie when I first meet you because like I just met you. I don't know who you are. I might lie and make fun of it. But like trying to keep it going throughout a relationship that you're a different age, that just sounds weird to me. Like,
I agree.
So I mean I get that specific scenario. Moff.
Yeah. Let's go back. I'm looking at my notes here.
And
Since
then
we're talking about
also
red flags. Oh yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Like how they talk about their family. Like if there's if you're on a date with a guy, you know, ask him about their parents, how, you know, their family life, whatever. They have like negative things to say about their mom or their father or whoever. I don't like that. I feel like that's a red flag.
What if the things are true?
What if their family's toxic?
It's not something you say on the first date, I feel like. You know?
I mean, I
that's
don't
fair.
know.
Yeah.
You know,
But,
because
like-
I like
Go ahead.
I don't know. I feel like the first time you meet someone and you're saying like, oh, my mom, just cursing out your mom, like she just called me or she just sent me this text message and just being really nasty. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean?
Well, maybe
like,
not cussing them out, but
There are some
like-
guys that give too much information and they have
much
more
information.
serious talks far too early. So I think that's more so where you're going, and that makes sense. I want to come back to Meg as far as red flags, but first I want to get to Carolina first because you mentioned one of my favorite subjects is like you're like, I don't like playing the games. What's with the games? What the hell is going on with that? Can you talk about that more? Like you meant you like it when somebody's their self or just be yourself. Talk about that, please.
Yes. I think straightforwardness is very important. You know, nowadays, so many girls, guys, whatever it is, they talk about, you know, all these mind games that go on and how they want to push and pull and play with people's emotions in order to maybe that way catch them in a better way, which I think it's just ridiculous. I think it's too much. I personally don't have time to be thinking about these things. I'm a busy person, so I don't want to deal with these types of, you know, games or whatnot, whatever.
Give me an
it is
example of what
they
you
are.
mean. Like what's a game that somebody's tried to play
For
on
instance, I don't know if on me, but for instance, I was talking to a friend. She's single, kind of dating. She lives abroad, but she was telling me about certain guys she was seeing. And, you know, if one guy texted her back a day after she texted him, she would wait 2 days. And then it was this whole thing that becomes a loop. And then, you know, she would play hot and then she'd play cold. And I told her like, oh my gosh, like it sounds exhausting to just think about these things or to even, you know, try to comply with all these rules. And at the end of the day, I think things get lost in the process. And at the end of the day, she ended up not with the guy because I think, you know, so much time started evaporating that you just lose time, really. I think you lose the essence of what it is to just be yourself and to just show who you are to the other person. And that's how you truly get to know someone.
So you're putting a bow on this piece of advice is just be yourself. Is that fair to say?
I would say so. And maybe I'm not the best one to advise because I've only had 2 relationships, but and very long relationships. So I haven't been in the dating scene at all.
So we generally make fun of just be yourself a lot because
Okay.
most guys hear that from women, and most guys just being themselves are a overweight, below average dude who's got no ambition, doesn't care about anything, wants to watch football and drink beer on Sundays, wants to go to the bar with his buddies and doesn't have any aspirations. I mean, that's the average man. The average man doesn't have a lot going on for him. So when the average guy hears somebody go, oh, just be yourself, it's like, okay, cool. I just go up to a girl and say, hey, I'm kind of a loser. I don't make that much money. I'm short. I'm kind of fat. Like, I don't really have anything going on. I don't really have any higher aspirations, but this is me at my authentic self. Where's my woman? Where's my free woman for the rest of my life? And they go,
I'll text you back right away.
What a dork. Yeah. And I'll text you back right away. I'll wait you hand and foot. I'll get you flowers every day. And then they get nothing. And so they wonder, like, this is exactly what Carolina told me to do. Just be myself. I'm being myself. Why isn't it working?
Well, then he should try to be better.
Not himself. So don't
Well,
be
no,
yourself.
he should become a better version of himself. I personally really believe that everyone should be striving to just do their best in their own skin. That's why I liked the ad at the very beginning. I think, it's great to try to strive for excellence and to be your best version of yourself. So yeah, I think it's a process, and I think, like you're saying, like the average man or the average person tends to not be that exciting. But yeah, that is tough.
Well, I think when we tell guys, hey, listen, don't text back super fast. You should mirror her emotions. You should mirror how much she talks to you. You should, because really what we're trying to get guys to do, and women too, even though they don't listen to us most of the time, it's more about impulse control. If you're just acting on how you feel, which is most people do, is like, oh, I like this girl a lot, I want to text her all the time.
Yeah.
You might feel that that's an authentic way to act, but what you're really doing is acting on your impulse, which is very rarely the right way to go about it. And guess what? That's why it all comes back full circle. That's why I generally don't think that women are as good at leadership positions than men. I think the way that they process information and the way they make decisions on things tends to be leading with emotions first rather than logic. I can't think of any scenario where making a decision based on emotions is ever going to trump making a decision based on logic. I'm not saying that women are only they're only emotional thinkers, but it's certainly the first filter that comes in is, how do I feel about this? Not what do I think about this? And for men, it's the opposite. And so what we're trying to do is say, hey man, you think you should text that girl 5 times in a row because your feelings are really high for her? It's like, nah, you might want to pump the brakes a little bit. And you might need to show some self-discipline and actually do things that are going to work for you versus jump at the first chance you have at a girl that might be interested in you. So I don't like the idea of just be yourself, because I think that tells men they don't have to do anything and they're just perfect, fine, just the way they are. And we know that about men, that no man is perfect and fine just the way he is, that men have to create their value and they're not born with it. But it's more so about that impulse control. It's less about, this is how I feel in this moment, therefore I'm going to do this. But a lot of people have that same sentiment. They say, hey, if you want to text him, text him. If you want to text her, if you want to ask her out, ask her out. It's like, well, maybe you should think about that. Maybe you should stop and take a pause. I don't know. What does everybody think about that? Carolina,
I
first,
agree.
please. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree in terms of, I think like there are decisions and decisions, right? Like if you're just having a back and forth conversation, I don't think you should be like second guessing every answer you're trying to or not trying to give. So I think you shouldn't pretend to be someone you're not, like if that makes sense. But yes, if there are decisions that are important, I do believe that you have to evaluate facts first. You have to pause, you have to evaluate the facts, and you can't just act on emotion. So I do agree with that. And regarding just the being yourself versus, the self-betterment, I do think like most people definitely should be working to better themselves, to add more value and whatnot.
Colin, I want to stick with you really quickly before we move on, because you talk about men and women both becoming the best versions of themselves, men and women both chasing excellence and becoming this excellent, but we can agree that men and women aren't the same, and they're not viewed by society as the exact same. And certainly the way we think about what, in my opinion, what is valuable from men is different than what we think is valuable from women. How do you reconcile that?
I think it's tough. I think kind of as Megan was explaining, like she grew up in a certain way that pushed her to take that almost like male role in many instances. I personally, I also grew up like without a father in my life. And so I had a single mom who was the alpha woman. She was out there like killing it in her job, providing for me and my grandparents and, taking care of us. And she gave me the best opportunities in life. And she was truly someone, and she is truly someone that I admire wholeheartedly. And she showed me that whatever you want to do, you can do as long as you put just like enough effort. And as long as you're dominating, you can even like just be like intense about things, be aggressive when you have to be aggressive and such. So yeah, I have that kind of perspective from growing up. Now, how I reconcile, well, it's tough to reconcile. And I think because I believe in this like excellence that I try to achieve for myself, or I would like my partner to also achieve for themselves, I also have a hard time kind of accepting kind of the norm. So it's tough. I still haven't figured out how to reconcile it, I have to admit. But maybe someday I will. And I do think that there are different standards, because at the end of the day, we are different, physically and like xenonomically and whatnot. So there are differences that we can't like be blinded about.
I mean, is the goal marriage? Is the goal kids? Do you want to do that? Do you care about that?
I mean, I think, I'd love to, have kids and be married and have a family and whatnot. But I, at the same time, want to achieve all my professional and career goals and aspirations. So there's a lot. And I've kind of like ended 2 relationships because of my my kind of big goals in life, to be honest.
And that gives you no pause whatsoever.
Pause. I don't want to pause. I think I'm a person that just pushes, and I want to keep going till I make it where I need to make it to. But I hope I can find someone that can, come along the way, but also push in their own sense.
No pause, no off switch. She's going to be the best in the world
Yeah.
or something.
Hopefully.
Putting that gas pedal down.
Maybe I'll be that CEO that you're looking for. Or
Hey,
that
I'd
leader,
love to see it.
woman leader.
What
I'm
else do we
curious. I have a
Yeah, please,
question on
Spence, go
that.
ahead.
So, with you chasing so much excellence yourself, are you still looking for a man who's a little bit of a step above you?
Yes, and that was actually huge in my last relationship. I honestly even told him, like, I need someone that I admire. And for me, that like became so evident. And I then tried to tell myself, I don't need to admire him. Like, we can be equals, or I can teach him things and such as life, But then I realized, no, I want him to teach me things, not just the other way around. I want to be, in admiration of his achievements, of his drive, of his ambition, of his hard work. So I realized, like, if I'm pushing this hard, like, I need someone who either pushed this hard and already made it and like has proof of achievement, or who is pushing this hard and I believe in wholeheartedly, like, I don't need someone who's already been made and achieved and whatnot, but I realized I need someone who I admire, and admiration can come in many forms.
But you understand that your dating pool, if that is the case, is becoming more microscopic by the day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're aware of it, it's just like, this is the thing we hear a lot. It's like, listen, I need to find a guy that's better than me, that makes more money, he's smarter than me, and yet you've going to law school, you got a nonprofit, you're an entrepreneur, you're a luxury designer. I mean, you just ended a 2-year relationship, and like, you're also 28. So, I mean, it's not like you're not 21, you're not 22,
right.
You're not 38, but it's like, I mean, how long you got to date a guy to get married, right? At least a couple of years. And then if you want to take it seriously, you're going to have kids. Are you going to put that away? Or are you going to wait till you're 40, 45? I mean, I don't think there's enough people that are having these conversations with women that are telling them exactly, the realistic nature of their plight. Like, I think if you're going to be serious about finding a guy and getting married, like, these 2 things are very difficult to maintain. I think it's going to be really tough. Like, what happens to women, like, the higher they climb on the socioeconomic ladder, the smaller the dating pool gets, because you don't want a dude that you're going to settle for. I mean, I don't know that you didn't talk a lot about this relationship, but I mean, I'm assuming the guy wasn't a bum because you stayed with him for 2 years in the first place, but you just outpaced him and you just outgrew him in a way. And it's like, okay, but you prioritize that, which is totally fine. But I wonder what'll happen what'll 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like what'll, will you come back and think about this conversation? I mean, I'm not trying to dog on you at all. I'm not trying to tell you you're making the wrong decision, but
I think you're absolutely right. And actually that's why I ended that relationship. I realized, I turned 28 about a month ago. And when I turned 28, I told myself, well, I'm I'm not like 21, as you just mentioned, anymore. I can't just be waiting around to see if this person suddenly gets ambition, suddenly starts pushing harder, suddenly shows motivation, because I was pushing this person throughout that relationship to do more, and etc. So it was kind of tough in that sense, and I didn't see enough. And that's when I had to end it, because I realized, I can't just be waiting around. I'm not at an age where that's like feasible. And my first relationship, actually, that one was like a 6-year long relationship. I truly admired the guy. And he was much older than, like he was about 9 years older than me. But yes, at the end, I ended things because I had a career ambition here in the US, and I couldn't just like move to the Middle East and become a wifey. So yeah, I think, as you said, my dating pool probably becomes microscopic, but I have faith that, things can fall into place.
Okay.
Does the thought
Indeed.
that it might not fall into place, that you might not find that guy who's still above you while you're chasing excellence, does the thought of that not happening scare you at all?
It does, and it has. Yeah, I really do miss, like, I don't know, having someone I truly admire. I think maybe it's because I admired, for instance, my grandfather so much. He was the true gentleman. He was like a walking encyclopedia, general knowledge, engineer, PhD, politician, like just, and he had a nonprofit too that he helped like hundreds of thousands of people with. And so I think like I'm looking for that, and it's so, I don't know if those men even exist anymore.
Indy, what's your beef with Andrew Tate? What's toxic masculinity? Yeah, what's your beef with Tate?
I can't tell you, like, I can't quote specific things off the top of my head. I didn't come prepared with my like reasons I really hate Andrew Tate, but I know I have seen that he like broke the jaw of women. They like took passports from girls that they like made like ham and stuff. They just seem to really abuse women, and I'm not a fan of that. But I also know just the message he's putting out towards that ends up being shown to like younger, impressionable, like teenager boys. I feel like it just.
But what is that message? What is he putting out? Like the toxic masculinity stuff that you said. Like, I mean, if you don't have anything that you know off the top of your head, that's okay. But
just that he really preaches that you have to be like this super dominant alpha, and that I just feel like he wants everyone to fit into a mold, and he thinks only this certain kind of man is going to be respected and wanted by women. And I feel like that's just not true. And I think his idea of what an alpha male is also is not accurate. Like, I don't see him as an alpha male as someone who like abuses women and just.
But let's put the allegations aside, right? Because I mean, he still hasn't been convicted of any crimes. He hasn't done any actual prison time. I mean, he's in the US, so like we can speculate on the allegations all we want, but like, is there a problem with telling young men to lift weights, get strong, be assertive, learn how to be competitive, that it's okay to actually be a man, but that you have no inherent value and that you need to work for it, that nobody's going to give you anything and you have to create your value every single day? Is there an issue with that?
I don't have an issue with men focusing on their fitness and trying to increase their value. Like, I feel like that's something even women should do. Like, everyone should be focused on having their body.
Yeah, but women are cared for and are valued regardless if they're 500 pounds or they're 150 pounds. Like, nobody cares. Women are universally loved and valued by people. Like, you can't go to a 400-pound obese man's Instagram and see comments with hearts and dudes that want to bang him. But you can go to a 400-pound woman's Instagram and see hearts and dudes that want to bang her by the thousands. Women are inherently valuable. So women don't really have to work at being valuable. Women don't really have to work at being noticed. Men do.
I sort of disagree, though, because I feel like now that I'm getting like older and I'm married, I feel like men instantly write me off. Like, I'm not valuable to them because I am taking.
Why would you, as a married woman, be valuable to a single man?
Because I have more to offer besides just sex and caring for them.
Like what?
For instance, I'm a yoga teacher. I can help them get in better shape
get stronger, be able
But
to
you know, men
attract
don't care
women.
about that. You know, men don't care about that.
What?
Why would
Hold on.
why would you?
Yeah. Do you think you're like not getting clients because you're older? Like, do you think people aren't
No,
coming
I'm
to
saying
learn from
once
you because you're older?
I'm saying that once a man knows my age and knows that I'm not single and I'm not available to him, I instantly like lower in value in his mind.
Correct.
But why would
Yeah,
you be
yeah, but that's
interested in
okay
what a
because the
single
guy.
man, like if you're married,
Oh,
what
Juliet,
does
say
a
that
single
again.
man, if you're married, what does a single man do for you that your husband isn't doing for you?
It's not that I need him to do something for me. I'm just saying that I have more to offer besides just being a potential romantic partner.
But why
That's
offer
all I'm
anything
trying to
to a
say.
man
But
that
does that
doesn't?
man?
Do you
He's
not
not
like
buying
offering?
what you're. But he's not
As a
buying what you're
woman,
selling. As a woman,
there
go
are
ahead.
men
Yeah.
who practice yoga though. Like there are people who need a really talented
Very few.
photographer. Sorry?
I mean, it's
I didn't hear what you said.
statistically, it's few. I mean, there are far less men that practice yoga than men that lift weights and do practice martial arts, I'd say.
Or men who want to sleep
Sure.
with you.
But I also feel like they would be better at those things if they did practice yoga because it really does help with
But why do they
your
have to
body
go
awareness
to?
and
Why don't they
strength
go to a
training.
male yoga instructor? Why do they got to go to a female one?
I don't think gender plays too much of a part in yoga. I don't think that's.
Oh, so then it doesn't matter. So they can go to anybody for yoga. They don't have to go to you.
Yes, no one has
The
to
point
specifically
that I'm
go
trying
to
to
me.
make, the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's perfectly normal for a man, like you are basically when you're trying to offer friendship or value or whatever it is that you're offering or yoga or whatever, you're selling gloves to a dude with no hands. He's got no use for it, right? Men want one thing from women. They want sex and intimacy, and they want the chance for a romantic encounter to happen. That's how it's been since the dawn of time. It's nothing new. And so, yes, like your value to the man that wants to sleep with you drops to zero when he realizes that you're married and you have no sexual or romantic interest in him. Most women, for that fact, if a guy doesn't see a potential for any romantic or sexual encounter to happen, there's no reason for that man to be around. I don't think men and women should be friends. I don't think that they have any use to be friends with one another ever. I don't even think men and women should work together, to be honest with you. I think they should have completely separate workplaces. But anyway, go ahead.
I feel like that's sad because I do feel like women offer, a different perspective. They offer a different wisdom than men do.
You said like dating advice?
Sorry?
You said you offered like dating advice to men or something like that?
No, I said I offer like mentorship for like photography and stuff. I don't specifically offer dating advice.
Oh, I thought you said like dating advice.
I don't know why you said that.
No, sorry. No. Then I misspoke. I misheard you. But why would a man take the advice of a woman on anything? Is my question.
Because you guys, I think, would like to be able to understand women in order to approach a woman so you could potentially have connections to women. It doesn't necessarily have to be dating advice. I feel like it's important to connect to other people. I disagree with you that all of us should just be separate and I shouldn't even work together with men.
Let's continue to go down that route then. How many women have you approached as a man and had a successful result?
I mean, I'm not like 100% heterosexual, so I have had.
But you didn't answer the question.
Experience approaching women, but yes, I'm not a man. No, I'm obviously not a man.
Then what advice could you possibly give a man if you've never done anything as a man? You don't live in. See, that's the point that I'm trying to make. You don't live in the same world that we live in. You don't experience the world the way we experience. You don't have the mind in the brain of a man. You don't have the testosterone. You have no idea. But I have the mind of a woman,
so I have insight into how to connect with a woman.
No, you don't. You don't at all, because you know your brain and your insight as a woman, but you have one example. Your sample size is one. Meanwhile,
I also talk to women and have deep conversations with them, and I am able to have a generalized idea of how most of us would like to be treated and how
women
we
are
would want a man to
terrible
navigate
at
a
that.
relationship with
Yeah,
us.
and women are terrible
That's
at
your
telling.
opinion, but
No, they're really
okay.
bad at it. Women are terrible at, because this is what we do. Every time we ask women, what do you look for in a man? I want a man that's nice. I want a man that's funny, who's charming, who listens to me when I talk, to be supportive. And then you got this homeless guy who's 400 pounds is like, I can do all those things. And she's like, oh, but not you, because you don't make enough money and you're not tall enough and you're not good looking enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So because what women think, the only men that exist to a woman are the ones that she's attracted to. And an unattractive man is invisible to you. You don't even
I've
see
dated an
80%
unattractive
of men
man
out there.
before. Like,
Why'd you
his
put unattractive in
personality-
quotes?
Because
you just putting unattractive in quotes makes me think that you don't even think he's unattractive because you're saying quote unquote. It's your preference.
Okay.
The point that I'm trying to make here, though, is
Whatever.
it's like if I'm going to catch a fish, if I need to learn how to catch fish, would I ask the fish how it wants to be caught, or would I ask a fisherman that's caught thousands of fish?
I think an understanding of how fish like operate and see the world would be good information to have as a fisherman, though. Like,
That
if
didn't
you
answer my
understand.
question. Juliet, go on.
Could I say
You.
something?
Okay.
So I have a guy best friend. I'm just playing neutral as listen, we ain't got to talk about that.
Oh, here we go.
No. What I was gonna
Continue.
say,
Go on.
what I was gonna say is, so when like it comes to a man asking advice from a woman, 9 times out of 10 it is to get a woman. Like, he just asked me how to impress this girl that he's trying to date and whatever. For Valentine's Day, he asked me what he should get her. I haven't been single since I was 15 years old. So I'm like, here's an idea of something to get. Seems like what females seem to be liking anymore. That's the only time I can think of a man asking for a woman's advice is to get another woman. They're not going to take advice from a woman. What? I just said the things that I keep seeing females seem to like. Do you want to know what I told them to get?
What things?
Oh,
yeah.
I guess it's called a boo basket, where they like
what?
put a basket. you put like all your favorite things in a basket, and anyway, my point is that
men, if you're watching this, do not get the woman that you're interested in a boo basket. Whatever you do under the penalty of death. God. Do not do that. Juliet, continue.
I was just going to say, that's the only time a man's really going to ask or listen to a woman on advice is when he wants input on another woman.
I understand.
He's not really going to ask about like life advice from a woman. The
point that I'm making, though, is that I would never listen to a woman's dating advice ever, because there's not a woman on this planet who has ever dated, approached, gamed, slept with, married, or had any sort of romantic relationship with another woman as a man. You just can't. You don't have the experience. And a lot of women like to say, well, I know what I like, and I know, okay, and I know my girlfriend's like, fine. Maybe your sample size is 1. And I think girls lie all the time about what they want, because what girls really want is different than what they actually choose. I mean, girls don't say, hey, I like a dude that's tatted up and is in jail and that murders CEOs. But guess what? Look at this dude, Luigi, getting underwear mailed to him when he's in prison. So, I mean, what does that tell you? Chris Watts murdered his wife and 2 little girls, and he gets love letters and porn sent to him every day in jail. But women don't say, I love murderers and rapists. Anyway,
and that's
the point that I'm making is that's a tiny one. That's a tiny one.
Tiny pool of women that do that. Like, I never
thousands.
There's so many women who are obsessed with serial.
Thousands of women.
So many.
Thousands.
You guys are acting like that's a majority. Thousands out of like hundreds of millions. I know that fans exist of these people.
They're not fans. These are just regular women.
I've taken advanced statistic classes.
So you should know all about sample sizes. So you'll really like this next example, because this is all about sample sizes. So let's say you're like, I'm a woman, so therefore I know what women like and I know what they want out of their man they want to date. Even if I granted you that, which I don't, but even if I did, who is more likely to have more experience and be smarter when it comes to women? Somebody who's dated as a man, who's dated 1,000 of them and has dated and bedded 1,000 women, or you, who your sample size is 1, a guy with a sample size of 1,000 or a woman with a sample size of 1? Who is more likely to know what they're talking about?
I mean, based on your hypothetical, I'm just gonna say you, if
But
not
I'm
you
using
necessarily, the man who's
it's a
been with 1,000
hypothetical.
people.
It's a hypothetical, but
Sure.
that's a real world example because there are men out there that have bedded hundreds or thousands of women. And that's absolutely but you could use that on any example that you want. You're talking about real world experience. So why would a guy ever go to a woman for dating advice when she's never in a million years bedded or dated a woman as a man? It makes no sense. You would go to the man who's done it as a man.
Okay, but I also feel like you offer a unique perspective and you have specific values and qualities you think are desirable, but a woman like me may not find that ideal of yours to be attractive at all. Like I may not end up wanting to be with any of the people that you were to give advice to because I don't agree with your advice.
But the
I mean,
advice is
there are
based on
exceptions, but
yeah, but the advice is based on what actually works. If I've slept with 1,000 women, then I'm probably pretty good at it. And let's just say
What if
this, like
those weren't like
humans are
high
far
value
more.
women? What if those aren't someone you'd actually
What
want
does
to
that mean?
marry? And
What's a high value woman?
someone who isn't going to be a naggy wife or just sit on the couch watching TV all day while you're at work, or is just a negative, draining person and
Yeah, why would I want
contributes
that?
nothing.
But that's a very low
Yeah.
bar. Like not be a nag.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
understand. I'm just saying that I think maybe it's easier to be with, or easier to get someone in bed who is negative and not a great person and lonely versus someone who's comfortable being on their own and does feel like they contribute a lot to society. And
Andy, I
it's
appreciate
definitely
it. But like,
not
I don't even
easier
know
to
we're
get
talking about this.
a nagging wife in bed because the men who are complaining about nagging wives are also complaining about not having sex.
sure, yeah.
Okay, Juliet.
I'm just trying.
No, go ahead.
Whatever.
Continue. No, well, I'm gonna come back to you. Juliet looks like she wants to talk, so please.
I was just gonna say, it is pretty. Maybe it's not so much easy, but men having a lot of bodies isn't exactly difficult, especially depending on the woman. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
I
extremely
agree with you
difficult.
100%.
It's extremely difficult.
I think once you know a certain
On what
psychology,
basis do
it's
you
not that
have?
hard.
On
Oh,
what
I'm not
basis do
saying,
you
I'm
have to
just
say it's
talking about
difficult?
personal experience. Guys,
But you're not
I
a
mean,
man. I don't
I'm
understand
saying
what
when
you're
I've
doing
talked
here.
to men,
Yes.
they have higher body counts because it's pretty easy to just simply do that versus a woman. I would hope most women at least would be a little bit more concerned about who they're laying down with than just letting anyone and everyone in. But I
See, why is that the only option, though? Why is there the assumption that if I've slept with 1,000 women, they're all whores with body counts over 500? See, you see how that doesn't hold water? And here's the thing. What we've done, Juliet, is you've just proved my point because I just said 5 minutes ago that women are only in the orbit of men that are visible to them or that they're attracted to, which are men that are high status that have the ability to game and bed women. You're not talking to the average dude out there on the street that the last time a woman talked to him was his mother 5 years ago. That's the vast majority of men out there. The vast majority of men are getting no sex or access romantically to women whatsoever. And that's how men end up in sexless marriages with nagging wives, because the first woman that touches them, they go, okay, well, I better put a ring on it. Otherwise, I'm never going to get this again. But yes, like, is it easy for men ever? No. Is there a predictive framework? We say, hey, man, this is what kind of works in this particular situation. I've done these steps in this order. It hasn't worked every time, but 1 out of 3. Honestly, here's the thing. People that do this for a living, guys that do this for a living, that make money off of it, their close rate, 1 in 10.
do
1
what
in
for
10.
a living?
That game women, that go out and teach game, that go out and run seminars, that go out to bars and clubs and pick up women, pickup artists, that teach seminars, that teach men how to do this and go out and pick up women and to date and get laid. Their success rate, 1 in 10. And that's like the best in the world. That's a 90% failure rate. That doesn't sound easy
Could I
to me.
ask you a question? Well, both of
Sure.
the guys anyways. So in your opinion, if you were, now I'm not talking about just sleeping with a woman. I'm talking about if you're interested in dating her or marrying her. Would you want a woman who has a higher body count, or would you want a woman who, whether she's a virgin or a lower body count, or someone who is more closed off and kept to herself?
Lower
body counts, obviously.
It's not even a conversation.
Obviously preferable.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
But the way that you're talking is if it's the women you would be sleeping with, you wouldn't want them to just be these whores who have had multiple men and all of that. But at the same time,
Sure.
I'm wondering if if it differentiates for you between marrying a woman and sleeping with a woman.
Well, of course, it takes a lot less effort to sleep with a woman than it does to marry her. The standard of what a woman would have to do to get me to marry her is astronomically higher than what a woman would have to do to get me to sleep with her. I mean, that's not even on the same planet, like same solar system. And that's backed up by mating preferences and strategies too. Like research and studies all show that men will lower their standards for sex, and they will maintain higher standards for long-term relationships.
I was just curious, you guys.
I'm curious though, why though? Like, we can talk about why that is. I'm just kind of curious about why that was a question.
Just the way that you say that, if it's going to be a bunch, you sleep with a bunch of women. Well, in my opinion, I wouldn't want someone. In my opinion,
I can sleep with 1,000 women all one time, right? Like that's what I'm talking.
Like
that's
at one time. That's a lot.
No, not simultaneously. I can sleep with 1,000.
Like some Bonnie Blue shit in here.
That girl. I was gonna say the Bonnie chick. Sorry. Anyways.
Go on, Moff.
No, I was just curious, just myself, because the way that you're talking about just sleeping with someone seems so easy. In my opinion, if a woman had done all of that, her value would be depleted.
Correct.
And that's what that was my.
Well, I think one of the things here is, for a guy to sleep with a woman, it doesn't have to be a woman that he wants to date or potentially marry. Like, he's going to sleep with her because she's hot. She doesn't have to have dating value. She's physically attractive, so he's going to sleep with her. That's it. So those two things don't actually, it's not going to prevent one from happening.
But should they correlate for a woman?
Naturally, they do. I'm not saying, should they? I'm not answering that question, but does that happen? Yes. Usually women prefer to sleep with less people, and so the men that they choose to sleep with are going to be men who they want to date, men who they want to be in a relationship with.
I think Carolina wanted to say something.
Before we do that, hold on. I got to get the super chat. Caroline, hold that thought.
Yeah.
Answer with complete. Let's go around the panel. So, Caroline, hold that thought. Jot that down if you have to. Answer with complete honesty. Do you prefer to tame a bad boy or settle for a nice guy? Let's just go around the horn really quick. Juliet, on to you.
I mean, you can't really tame a bad boy, but I'm definitely going to go for the bad boy over a nice guy.
Meg?
Going to try to, at least. Try to tame him.
I'm going to kill Batman. Meg, what about you?
I'm not taming anything. I'm not taming anything, and if you're too nice, it just depends on how you did.
Let's just say these are your only two options, though. Like, bad boy does whatever he wants. He's not going to listen to you. He's probably going to leave you crying more often than not. You can have that guy who goes out all hours of the night, doesn't call you back, texts you back when you want, or you can have the nice guy that waits on you hand and foot with flowers and chocolates and all that.
I'll take the bad boy, I guess.
I really thought you were going to say nice guy.
Oh, I had to add some more context.
Out with the honesty.
Because everybody knows what we're talking about when we say nice guy. Like, everybody has that archetype character.
I don't know. We can get into that later.
Indy.
I really feel like I just would do neither. Like, I don't like anyone who's too nice. They're really boring.
You got to pick one.
I feel like there's some excitement feeling like having a bad boy be a nice guy for you. Like that is
That's not an option.
What's that
I don't know how
I'm
else
not
to say
saying
it.
that-
That's what taming him
Not an
means.
option.
That's what taming him means. It's trying to
that's
get
what I'm
him to
saying.
be the nice guy, but he never will.
I'm just saying, I feel like it's okay. If it's a never, I'd rather just go be a nun and be celibate if
Oh my God.
these are my options.
Indy, you would make
I'm not
you'd
trying
make
to
a
be
great
difficult.
not an option. You'd make a great politician. Carolina.
Indy will be single forever if these are two options.
So is the nice guy like someone that's like achieving things, or is it just like a boring nice guy?
Whatever you
He is
think
a
in
nice
your
guy.
head when you say nice guy, the archetype of a nice guy.
Yep.
Okay. And the
The
bad boy will
weaseling
never
out
be
of the
tamed.
equation that you all try to do, be like, well, what if he's this? Like, no, you can't add things to the equation. These are your two options.
I think there's something about excitement, but I think like if I managed to tame the bad boy, that would be interesting. So I'll go for that one.
Yeah, but if you tame the bad boy, guess what? It becomes a nice guy. Then you don't want him anymore.
Depends.
Unique.
So the nice guy is probably a little bit of a pushover. Bad boy.
All right. There you have it.
There it is.
There you have it. Now, Carolina, you had something else we were talking about. I don't know. We can keep like the body count
Hold on,
discourse. I'm not sure where we were.
Sorry,
exactly.
Moff.
Go ahead,
There was
Spence.
something from that I wanted to say on one of
please.
Indy's points.
Okay.
Indy, you had mentioned you don't like guys when they find out that you're older and married, they like instantly they lose value, or you lose value in their
less
eyes.
valuable,
And so
yeah.
guys are no longer interested in you when they find out you're older and married. But I honestly would take this like as a blessing, be happy about it, because that's a guy showing you that all he wanted to do was sleep with you, and now he's leaving.
Yeah.
He's getting out.
Yeah,
Versus
I'm not mad about that.
the other thing that a guy could do is he could do what many men without options do, which is stay around as the friend for years and probably poke little jabs at your boyfriend or at your husband and try and hope one day that you're upset with him and you want to go cheat on him or something, or that you break up, and he'll try and slide in there. He'll stick around as a friend, sit in the friend zone, and hope for the one day he can sleep with you. But so I'd take it honestly as a blessing if they just leave.
Yeah, I'm not mad about people's perception of me, like if they find me not valuable or not, because I know what I have to offer and I'm confident in myself, so it doesn't affect me too much. I just know it's a reality.
Meg, did you have something to say? I thought maybe you were trying to come off mute. There you
Yeah,
go.
the nice guy, one of my red flags actually ties into the whole nice guy thing. So usually the nice guy is always just trying to appease, right? So they're changing themselves to fit your, like, what they think you want. And I will lose respect immediately. And I just cannot deal with that. Like, for example, I was dating a guy, and I'm not going to mention the topic because it's a pretty hot button issue and I don't want to go off in a tailspin, but he was like, well, what are your thoughts on this? And I'm like, well, you go first. And he went first, and I was like, I completely disagree. And he thought I was going to go the other way and agree with him and go the same way that he did. And I was like, so you really think this? And I was trying to like steel man, a little bit straw man, all that stuff. And he was like, well then, and then he changed his mind.
Oh no. He flipped.
I'm like,
Cracked under pressure.
No.
It sounds like a beta.
Because
There you go.
girl. And then because he thought what he said was going to win points with me, it seemed like, and it totally didn't, because now I just think you're kind of a pussy.
Yeah, you're an empty vessel. You'll just do whatever I think you should do or say whatever I think you should say. You don't have any opinions of your own. But then so many guys do that. Like men are taught that. Men are like, listen to her, prop her up, agree with her, give her what she wants, always say yes. And modern guys are so afraid to just have a spine and a backbone and be like, oh, you don't like it? Okay, well, like there's a door. I don't give a shit. Right? Like, oh, I can't believe you would say that. Like, yeah, whatever. What are you gonna do? Like, kitchen's over there, make me a sandwich or whatever the fuck. Like,
how are you going to protect me then? And like our
you can't
relationship
stand on your own.
is spineless, you know?
Sure. Makes sense to me.
My ex was like that, not to like continue, but I know exactly what you mean, and it was so gross. It was not cute.
Big ick, huh?
Mm.
Back to Carolina. You said something. I want to make sure I come back to you in regards to this topic. We were still talking about like female value and body
Right.
count, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. And well, two things. You mentioned that you believe, Moff, that like women and men shouldn't even be working in the same places and things like that. I think you should go check out Saudi. Maybe you'll enjoy the vibes out there.
Too hot.
I mean, yes. And then on another topic, you guys both kind of like shrugged at the fact that Juliet had a male best friend. And I wanted to ask you guys your thoughts on that. I personally have a lot of male friends, not best friends, but friends. And, you know, friends that we've been friends for 10 years plus and nothing has ever happened because we're like truly in that bro zone. So you guys' thoughts.
Two things. I'll clarify why I don't think men and women should work together. I don't think, especially in office settings, I think it's a terrible idea. Then you compound that with things like office parties, holiday parties. I lived that corporate life for a long time. I did 10 years. Nothing but bad things ever happened when you put men and women in the same environment, where the underlying problem is that men want to sleep with women. It is their hardwired biology. It is what we want from women. Most guys will apologize and say they don't want to because they don't want to lose out on a friendship, when really what they mean, they don't want to lose out on the opportunity. They'd rather have some access to you than no access at all. And that's all a real male friend is the crack in the door. He's just waiting for the chink in the armor for that day to come. And guys will wait for years, decades even, for that chance to pop up, to be the shoulder you cry on. And then you get a little drunk because the guy didn't call you back. And then you come over to the place like, oh, and all of a sudden now we're making out. And now he slept with you. And all of his 30 years of waiting, he's vindicated for that. But no, I don't think men and women belong in the same office. I don't think they belong on the same trading floor or any of that stuff, because I think the underlying, it's like you're putting yourself in the office with a lion. Like you are human prey, and you are going to work with a polar bear every day who has to fight against his natural proclivity to rip off your limbs and then eat you. But he doesn't do it because of the fear of not even having that opportunity. Like that's what men are. We're polar bears when it comes to women. And it's
That's
like,
why you pull your wiener out at work.
what's that?
So that's why I got to pull my wiener out at work. My lady
Well,
balls.
there you go. And you have to play this character of like, hey, I'm not the damsel in distress. I'm tough. And if you mess with me, I'll scream and fight back. And a lot of times that's enough. And that will be a deterrent against a guy that wants to sleep with you. Not always, but guys will be like, really? Like, what the fuck are you going to do? You don't fucking scare me, Meg. But in any case, so that's why I don't think that now, but that catapults into that next point, which is when it comes to men and women, there is no such thing as a purely platonic relationship. The man, most likely it's the man. Sometimes it's the woman, but far more often than not, the man, in given the opportunity, would make a sexual pass or make a romantic move on the woman if the opportunity presented itself. And that, to me, is not a friendship at all. If your foundation is based on the fact that despite the fact that nothing's ever happened, despite the fact that you've told the guy it's never going to happen, not only is it unwise because that guy's not really your friend, he's only his friend as he thinks he may get something out of you someday. It's also potentially very dangerous for you because a large percentage of sexual assaults come from not strangers. They come from friends or friends of friends or people that women know. And a lot of the time, that is a rebuffed friend who's not getting any play from a woman. So he decides he's going to overpower her one day and he's just going to take it. So it's unwise and dangerous, in my opinion, for women to keep men around them that are not in a relationship with, that they're not married to, that's not their father or brothers. I see no benefit. The benefit women get from a guy friend is you get emotional support, you get to call and text them, you get attention. It's the perfect scenario for you because you get all the attention you want. You get what you want from a guy, which is attention and validation. And you have to give up nothing of what he wants, which is sexual access and intimacy. It's the perfect storm. It's the same reason why you hate being a friends with benefits is why men hate being in the friend zone. because they're not getting what they want and they're only giving you what you want. And if you're friends with benefits, you're not getting anything that you want, which is connection and emotional relativity, and you're giving him everything he wants, which is physicality.
Indy.
So, Moff, do you really believe that men genuinely only care about sex? Like they don't care about like connecting and having a sort of relationship that goes beyond super superficial and shallow and just based off looks and the potential for having sex at some point?
In regards to male and female friendships, absolutely.
So do you have no friends that you look at just as platonic girlfriends?
Girlfriends? Absolutely not. Why would I?
Okay.
I mean, they're not generally interested in the same things that I'm interested in. Like, they don't want to go out and shoot guns generally. They don't want to go out and they don't want to spar and fight MMA. They don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. They don't want to talk about the same things that I want to talk about. Like, what I have nothing in common, like with the average woman.
But some girls are like that. Like, I'm definitely a tomboy. Like, I grew up playing sports and stuff. Like, I've gone out and shot guns, like machine
You're
guns,
a yogi.
crazy stuff.
You're a yogi. You do
Yeah.
photography. Like, you're a model. What do I have in common with you?
I don't limit myself with those labels. Those are just giving you a tiny glimpse into who I am. Like,
Indy, like I want to go to the gym and I want to lift heavy weights with guys that can lift the amount of weight that I lift. So it's fun for me and we can push each other and hit PRs. I want to go to the MMA gym so I can spar with a guy that's my size that can push me and challenge me. It would be a bloodbath if you and I spent 5 seconds together. I mean, with one arm behind my back, not because I want to beat you up, just because it would be so easy. It'd be like beating up a child. But so it's like, but I'm saying that there's no reason that I would, it doesn't behoove me or benefit me to go find this needle in a haystack woman that might be able to keep up with me on some of these topics. Or I could just go find a dude that that it's much more likely that I'll find that he'll be interested in those things. Like, why do I need to go play this needle in a haystack game to find a chick? Because, and guess what? Like, I'm a dude. And if she offers herself up to me and says, hey, you want to go?
Yeah, what if she's just there? What if they're in your circle and you're not attracted to them physically? But what if there was hypothetically a badass girl that could somehow be on your level fighting? Maybe not lifting weights. But I mean, there are girls who...
See, this is the brainwashing of these nonsensical, retarded movies like Charlie's Angels, where they're trying to put women in like James Bond outfits, and this 120-pound woman is like beating the shit out of 250-pound muscle heads. It doesn't exist. And like, you'll ask any woman who actually fights and trains. We had a woman on last week who trains Muay Thai in New York, and she knows that against the worst guy in her gym, she's getting tuned up and she's going to look like Hamburger when it's all said and done. So like, there's no reason for me to go and do that. There's no reason.
I'm not talking about only MMA.
I do.
Well, I was going to say, you were in the military, and you're in male-dominated fields. I would say that you're probably the best person to speak on this in this realm right now, and you're even agreeing with him.
Yeah, I am.
As far as that goes.
Yeah, I am, and I found out in very difficult lessons by believing that you can be friends with men, and that men that are your friend have your best interest in mind. And even doing jujitsu for a couple of years, off and on with being in the military and stuff, it is so much. The difference is so vast when you're sparring with another woman.
Close.
It's not even close. Sparring with another woman that's your same weight, or a guy that's your same weight. Like, even in the same kind of weight range, it is not. You can't even compare it. It's totally different.
Women I'm not trying to argue that, and men were supposed to be masculine, and we've lost that through a lot of modern things.
Exactly.
I disagree, because there were like women hunters. It wasn't like women could only be gatherers, and not all men only want
from the very beginning.
And why only these?
Hold on, one at a time.
We're not talking about hunter-gatherer civilizations right now. We're talking about the modern man and the modern woman.
Yeah, but like, no, we've evolved from that. But even if that's the case, that's not even ever been like,
Yeah.
This is how modern society and civilization has come to pass. Men did things with other men. Women stayed home and took care of the children with other women. It's only in the last like 40 or 50 or 60 years, like I talked about at the beginning of the show, women need to, for whatever reason, invade men's spaces. And you need to raise your hands and say, like, include us, include us, include us, because anything that's popular and exclusionary for men, women need to get involved with it for whatever reason. If it's popular, women want to get involved. And then guess what? After they're involved, the men go, yeah, this kind of fucking sucks. This isn't fun anymore. So we're going to leave. And the women are like, oh, where'd all the men go? Well, I guess this sucks now. Let's go find out the next thing. So it's like, I don't know why there has to be this, like, why isn't it satisfactory just to lean into your biology and do what your natural proclivities tell you to do? Why the need to infect these men's spaces?
I think right now, the thing holding me back personally is this economy and the fact that a lot of men are having these feminine traits. A lot of them are just being agreeable to be agreeable. A lot of them, you confront them and say, hey, like, this really made me feel some kind of way. And they say, well, you, or something, or whatever. They don't have, I'm not saying all men should suppress their emotions or be completely stoic, but I will say that you should be good at conflict resolution because you can do that with another man if you're masculine. So why can't you do it with us in the relationship, kind of? You know what I mean? Now, I know that men usually prefer to punch each other in the mouth, but I mean, do not do that to women, clearly. But you know what I mean? Like, to see what I'm saying? Kind of, I don't know. After being in men's spaces for so long, I would really like to exit. Thank you very much. That's it.
Let me get this super chat really quick. Hold on, Caroline.
Yeah, I wanted to read this. Yeah. Holy
Spence, go ahead.
Yeah, so it says
exactly.
This is crazy. Chris says, I have a few female starting out my words. Chris says, I have a few females that I've pretended to be friends with, and I was able to smash when their boyfriend slipped. Thank you, Indy. I would never be able to pull this off without females like you repeating the BS that I tell them.
Am I allowed to respond since this was directed towards me?
Yeah, of course.
So I just want to say that I do agree with you guys that like 98% of guys are just like sleeper agents, like waiting to sneak in there when women are in a vulnerable place in like their relationships or whatever. But I'm just saying that there's always an exception. There are some girls that do have more masculine sides. Like, I really love rock climbing. Like, that isn't the most girly activity. Like, you do have to like develop like strength and a certain mental acuity in order to do it. And I was able to keep up with some guys. Like, am I as good as like the very best guy climber? No. Can I out climb like guys who are like bodybuilders? Yes. Like, I can still be in those spaces.
Why should anybody care about exceptions? Why should anybody live their lives based on the exception when it's not the rule?
Because they exist. Like, they're
Why does that
valid.
matter?
Like, we shouldn't totally write off their existence. So do I not matter to you because I'm an exception?
Do you not matter to me because you're an exception? I live my life based on what is most likely to happen. I live my life based on probabilities, not possibilities. Because if I lived on possibilities, there's a possibility that I walk outside right now, I'll get struck by a bolt of lightning. But am I going to live my life by that? No. I'm going to walk outside and say, probably nothing bad's going to happen. So I'm going to live my life by that. There's no reason to think that the best way to go through life, or any logical reason, the way to go through life would be because based on exceptions to the rule, because with that, it'd be pure chaos. It'd be pure chaos if everybody was like, well, we should go by the exception, not the actual rule. And how can we know anything about anyone or human behavior or history if we don't go by what we generally know to be true? How can we make any inferences, or can we write off anything as a fact or a generally widely universally accepted claim or discovery or whatever it might be if we're going by what is the 1% versus the 99%? We wouldn't be able to do anything. It wouldn't make any sense.
And I hear your point, and I think it's very valid. Like, we do have to put things in boxes in order to navigate what is the most likely thing to happen. But I do also feel like we try and put things in boxes, like forcing them in there when they don't exactly belong anywhere. And
I don't know what any of
Yeah,
that
I
means.
just
I mean, I agree with that, but I'll turn this around and I'll say I think it kind of sounds like you might somewhat be doing that as well because you're saying like I'm gonna go to rock climbing and then like this guy has to be my friend, otherwise what, you just don't like me because I'm a girl? It's kind of like forcing that this friendship
like, why do you
has
care?
to exist. Like
I'm
I
not
am
trying
totally
to-
okay if I go somewhere and people are like they don't like me, they don't want to be friends with me. I don't care. I don't
Okay.
care what if other people don't like me because I have my circle.
Sure, I don't force anyone to be my friends. I don't go out of the way to like befriend everyone at like the climbing gym. But there are really good vibes at gyms where it's not like guys hitting on girls or they're that energy of like sexually charged or romantically charged energy isn't there at all. So it's like a really supportive community that are really just focused on the
Yeah, I
task at
think-
hand
Just
and
because
getting
they
better
don't
don't
think
say
that
something
exists.
doesn't mean they aren't thinking about it.
Yeah, because you
It's
don't
innate.
feel it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
It's
I'd say
innate. It's instincts.
almost every single guy, well, pretty much every guy is still feels the attraction towards a beautiful woman. Like he still feels that attraction. It takes a very special, unique, top shelf guy with a lot of options to not want to act on that. So it's a very unique guy who could have female friends and this like not be a problem. So if a girl has a bunch of male friends, these guys are most likely guys who don't have options and are just hanging around so that they can hopefully have sex one day.
Carolina, I know you've been waiting to say something.
Well, I just wanted to say that we've been observing and talking about, for instance, a lot of like physical activities. But I think there's also this side of like the intellectual activities that you can share with a guy, or vice versa. And I have a lot of friends that I just have great like intellectual conversations with, and I think, really thrive on friendships. But who knows? Who knows what they're truly thinking? I don't know. But yes, I mean, these are friendships that have lasted like a decade or so, and we've had relationships as like brother, sister. And yes, maybe there are exceptions as well. But I think it was just something I had to point out, that it's not only like physical activities that a woman has to be like an exception for to even like hang out with these men, but it could be also like intellectual things as well.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that's your contention, but I don't think honestly, if a man takes a woman's opinion on anything about living life as a man, he's an idiot because
Well, no,
she
but
just
you could
doesn't
debate
have
things.
that. Yeah, but like, there's not much of a debate because it's like, we've reached the fundamental disagreement, which is you'll never understand what going through life like a man is like. You just can't. So like, I mean, where do we even go from there? And I think it's perfectly reasonable to think that, yeah, like these guys probably are going to say what they need to say, or they're going to engage in these conversations with you, or they're going to give you these back and forth. Because if they were just like, duh, like, when do I get to have sex with you? That wouldn't really play, would it? They have
Right.
to engage with this with you because they have to throw you off the scent of, there's this thing in biology, or this evolutionary biology or psychology. It's called, and this isn't an exact one-to-one relationship, but the term is called sneaky fucker. And basically what will happen is while the alpha males of a certain pack or the alpha males of a certain animal group are out hunting, trying to catch other fish or providing or doing whatever, the beta men will stick around and they will try to disguise themselves as women to fly under the radar. Or even what will happen if an alpha man is going at it with a woman, he'll sneak in last minute and try to impregnate the female. So male friends, that's what I think of them as. I think of them as the sneaky fuckers. They're the guys that are waiting. They see their opportunity and boom. And that opportunity may or may not come ever. But what also a lot of women fail to realize and understand is that men without other options will wait forever. Like, well, he doesn't just leave. Why? It's never going to happen. Why doesn't he go find another girl? Because he literally can't. You're his golden goose. All his chips are on you. And if it doesn't happen, he basically ends up alone, or he ends up with a nagging wife, our favorite person, our favorite phenotype, the nagging wife.
Oh my.
Juliet.
Well, Megan had her hand up first. I was waiting for her to say
apologies.
that.
Juliet, you were so nice. I was just gonna say that this is controversial, okay?
Ooh.
But in my
Roll
experience,
the viral clip.
Let it fly.
don't do that. But
Clip this.
But don't clip it, please. In my experience as someone who, if you don't think I'm attractive at all, like in the chat, just don't say anything. I was less attractive than I am now at one point, by a lot, by a couple of pounds too, and pimples. And I can tell you right now that no guys have approached me and wanted to be my friend when I was less attractive. And I don't know, you can put those pieces together however you want, but that's the truth.
Yeah, men are not like I don't know who came up with this. This is something that Myron has said before. He's like, okay, like if you think these guys are really your friends, like gain 300 pounds and see if they stick around.
I was just gonna say now after she said controversial, now I'm afraid to say this, but
that was tame for this show.
That was mild. That wasn't bad.
Well, as far as that goes, as far as like invading, I'm curious. So to me, people who invade a lot of, now I know you guys talk about invading male space, but to me, there's a lot of men who take advantage of certain things that are more socially acceptable now and invade women's spaces, as far as gay men or transgender men or whatever, as far as they act, which I've heard of people acting as if they're gay or acting as if they're this, that, or the other, to be able to invade women's spaces and to be able to invade their personal circle to take advantage of them. Because, you can see well, now you get in trouble if you make any remark about a gay man walking into a bathroom with a bunch of women. Somehow that's okay. But why would that be okay? Just because he claims to not like women.
So we're back to talking about sneaky fucker, right? Like there's a guy pretending to be gay or pretending to be this so we can get on the inside.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's the ultimate sneaky fucker right there.
Yeah. I mean, if you're willing to do that,
I hear
like,
that a lot. It's like these guys are all in the girls groups and they're one of the girls. And I mean, like, to me, I personally, I don't believe that there's, that's just my personal opinion. But you are what you are and you know what you're doing. And I understand, yes, I have guy friends. I might be the wrong person to say this, but if you're masking as if you don't want something or I would never let my guy friends come to the bathroom with me. I don't know, but somehow that's socially acceptable and you're supposed to just be fine with it. There's no way I'd be okay with it. Please get out of the bathroom. I don't want to take a picture with you and we are not friends. And please don't call me girl in some weird way because you think that makes you more feminine.
With the high-pitched voice too.
Yeah, well, it just goes back to like a lot of women will look past those things because they love the attention. Like they want to get attention. It doesn't matter who it's from. They love attention from men. They love attention from women. That's why some people are like, yeah, all women are bisexual because women love attention more than they care about whether it's, D or V, which I don't have a dog in that fight or a horse in that race at all. But yeah, I mean, most women are painfully unaware and ignorant to how far the average man will go to get sex. Because think of like for men, and again, women don't live in this universe because from the time that women have puberty, before that, but generally women hit puberty and it's like your inbox is flooded. Right. You post a picture on Instagram, you've been being propositioned for sex since you were probably 14 years old, right? Before that, in a lot of cases, right? So it's like men will never go through that. Only the most famous, high status, top tier 0.00001% of men will ever have an inbox, an Instagram inbox that even comes close to your average woman's inbox of guys that are offering and propositioning. And so because most men have zero access, and there's even research that shows where it's like men think about sex as just as important as food. I mean, it is a biological need, a biological impulse, because we have this drive to reproduce and pass along seed and have our legacy be carried on, etc. That's the basis of everything. It's the reason why we do anything. Men don't build things because they just like to build stuff. It's always the underlying driver of, I'm going to get attention from women. I'm going to get sex. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to be able to pass this on, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's okay. But for some reason, people have a huge problem with that.
I think
So
to
yeah,
your point
that's all valid.
of girls, even before, like I would say before they're 18, one of the biggest ways that you can see that in modern day is Danielle Bergoli, the bad baby girl.
Yeah.
She, you know,
Catch me
became
outside.
viral. She was whatever. And then as soon as she turned 18, what did she make? And how much money did she make from that? Because
Millions.
there were men who were preying on her long before that.
Yeah. Yeah. Fact of life. Ladies, I'm looking at our time here. We're a little over 2 hours, a little over 9 p.m. Eastern. I think this is a good time to wrap. I know we didn't get to everybody as much as I maybe would have liked, but I think the conversation overall was good. I thought that everybody was fun. Indy, like, I'd love to have you back anytime. You definitely are the devil's advocate that you said you were before the show. So I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, I think this is good here. We'll go ahead and wrap the show. Ladies, I'll pull you all backstage here in a second. And Spence and I are going to kind of wrap things up. But somebody just pop in. Oh, Juliet popped out and back in. I think she froze. Yeah, is that what happened?
Oh, okay.
That's why she froze. So Juliet, you froze. I'm going to pull.
I
this
thought we
one,
had
so-
someone joining
No,
at the
no,
end,
no.
at very
Yeah,
end
I
of the
know.
show.
Yeah, here you go, gin and tonics. Yeah, blood pressure's good. No worries, we're good. I didn't plop any blood vessels this week. So, ladies, yeah, we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. We're gonna pull everybody back behind stage. Stay in contact with Spencer. You're all welcome back anytime. I'd love to see you again. We're always looking for ladies on the show. We're live the same time every Tuesday, 7 p.m. right here on the Unplugged Alpha channel. So I'm gonna start pulling everybody out again. Thank you all for joining. It was an absolute pleasure. Hope that everybody stays in touch. And yeah, man, great panel tonight. Appreciate you putting this together. I believe Rich is going to be doing a show tomorrow as usual. I should be doing a office hours on Thursday. I'm really looking for topics and stuff to talk about. So if you guys have any suggestions, DM me on Instagram, send me an email, send stuff my way. But this is a lot of fun. Ladies, appreciate the good sportsmanship and everything like that. Spence, you have anything to tell the people before we wrap up here?
Oh, this was a good show. I like this. This one was fun. Ladies were good.
Right
so
on.
we're
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you on the next one.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.